All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about what Nebraska Game and Parks has to offer as far as some educational resources. My name is Monica McCoubry, and I am the Wildlife Education Specialist for the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission, and I'm located here in the Lincoln office.
Yep, and I'll introduce myself. My name is Grace Gard, and I also work with Monica and Lincoln in the Fish and Wildlife Education Division, and I focus more on aquatic education. Yeah, we're excited to talk to you about our resources today.
Awesome. All right, so we'll go ahead and just get started. We have a few resources that are physical things that we can send you or that we have, and then we also have some things that we can't send you, but that you can check out. And then we also have some virtual resources as well. All right, so talking a little bit about what Nebraska Game and Parks does. When a lot of people think of game and parks, they think of hunting and fishing in our parks, and that is a lot of what we do, but we do a lot of ecological education as well. So when people think about that, it's more than just talking to people about facts and talking to them about the environment. It is a lot of that, but it's also talking about patterns and principles of ecology and systems, and talking a lot about not what to think, but how to think as well. And that's a lot of the stuff that we work on as far as our division. So what do we actually do? What does that all entail? Well, education at Game and Parks looks very different depending on what division you're in or what program you're looking at. It's kind of confusing. It's not all under one umbrella. But we have a lot of different things as far as education, everything from, national archeries in the school program. We have family fishing nights. We have facilitator workshops for teachers, such as things like Project Wild, or we have things like Trout in the Classroom, which Grace is going to talk about a little bit here. But then we also have things like outdoor classrooms and community science. So there's always some aspect of education as far as Game and Parks. It just could look very different as far as what program and even what group of animals you really want to work with. All right, so we can help. We have tons of resources, which a lot of people don't know about, things that are interdisciplinary lessons for teachers, talking about science and math and language arts and all these different subjects. And we will meet state standards as well. That's a very important thing for teachers. And I'm sure being part of the library, you also want to make that a key objective for you as well. All right, so one of the things that we do a lot of these actually, are educator workshops. So we will readily admit that we are not trained teachers. We don't have teaching certificates, but we are here to bring that content knowledge, hopefully to things that you're already incorporating into your classroom, but we're here to kind of help you with that. So there's a couple of really good programs and curriculums out there. One that I kind of mentioned earlier, Project Wild, is one that we do a lot. And it started very popular, and then there's a lot more other curriculums that go along with that as well. So we will actually train educators. This is formal and informal educators in something called Project Wild. That's kind of where it all started. And then it was so popular, it became also Aquatic Wild. So these are fairly good size resources. You can see that they're pretty thick. There's a lot of awesome hands-on, minds-on. It's a big curriculum as far as K through 12. Formal and informal educators. So if you look, there's Project Wild and Aquatic Wild. Project Wild is talking a lot about those terrestrial animals, so things that you're going to find on land. But there's also one called Aquatic Wild, which probably guess it, is talking about aquatic animals. This one is also K through 12, and this talks a lot about things that have to do with water, whether that be a watershed, a tide pool, the ocean, lakes, rivers, streams. Basically anything that deals with something that lives in the water. One thing that's awesome about these two guides is they're very interconnected with each other. They reference each other a lot, and there's also extension activity. So if you like something in Aquatic Wild, it will show you how to do it in Project Wild and vice versa. All right, so Project Wild started in the 80s. It was super popular. Aquatic Wild came about, but then people are like, we need something for younger students. So especially in that age range of 3 to 7-year-olds, this is a critical time to get them outside, get them making observations, kind of understanding that world around them, that natural world. So STEM, Growing Up Wild, which is a little bit different. It's mostly, again, for those younger students, but this will have a kind of a larger subject matter, it talks about art and music, but then also, again, conservation, science and math connections. And again, it's getting those students, those very, very young students out in nature and starting to be comfortable out there. So it's a full color guide, very, very cool. It has lots of 27 hands-on nature-based activities, but within each activity, there's probably, I don't know, 100 more activities. They're broken up and they're very little. There's also social, emotional, physical language, as also cognitive domains as well. So it explores that wide range of subject areas. All right, and so popular, from Growing Up Wild, Project Wild, Aquatic Wild, there's also something called Flying Wild, which is a little bit more geared towards that middle school age range, but please don't let that deter you. If you're like, I don't work with middle school students, you can make this work with just about anybody. As you probably guessed it, this one works a lot with birds. So this is an educator guide solely to birds. Everything from migration and adaptations and management, stewardship, all of those different things. But again, using birds to teach about the environment and conservation and wildlife management. All right, so these are things that are already pre-made. This is a national program. It's in 13 other countries. But then we also have teachers and educators and library people that want us to talk about different subjects, or maybe subjects that are more closely geographically isolated, or things that they really want to talk about here in Nebraska. So we have done advanced trainings before. If you look through this list, this is just a simple few that we have done. It does not mean these are the only ones that we can do or will do. We're always looking to add new ones as well. So if you are interested and we can get a group of you interested, we will come in and do a workshop for you talking about some of these different topics or other topics, and we will help you find curriculum and activities that you can do that pertains to that topic as well. All right, so those were our curriculum guides. I also want to show you some of the supplemental publications that either Game and Parks has made or that we have piggybacked onto. These are things that we could send you if you are interested in them. All right, so Trail Tales might be something that you're very interested in. If you've heard of Nebraska Land magazine, this is the 4th grade version, basically, of Nebraska Land. So each year, every 4th grade student in Nebraska will receive 4 Trail Tales issues. They will get a fall, winter, spring, and summer issue. And each one of these issues will focus on Nebraska specific topics, anything from science and food webs and habitats and ecosystems, but also looking at those outdoor sports. So things like archery and a little bit of like hunting and angling as well. So in addition, there's like puzzles, there's games, there's full color photos, and these are free for 4th grade students, or if you're a teacher or if you know a teacher that would like to receive these in our classroom, they are free for that. You can also, the public can get them as a subscription, but then also if you're just a library person that works in the library and you would really want these, we can get them to you as well. But one of the things I will just show you here, here's one of the newest ones for this year. There's articles in every single one. Actually, Grace, you wrote this article too. So this is about crayfish. So talking about different types of crayfish that we have in Nebraska, different types of adaptations that they have. And then there's also things like body coverings in here. So these have a wide range of subjects when we're talking about them, but they are geared about that 4th grade level. So when reading them, about 4th grade is kind of the way that we go. All right, next thing that we have are these biodiversity sets of posters. These are really good to hang up in your classroom or in your library, wherever you're using them. We have 7 different posters that kind of recognize like the top 25 of those animals. So for instance, I put the fish one on here because I know your theme this year is kind of more geared towards the aquatic side. So on one side of this nice sized poster, you have the state of Nebraska and you have 25 fish that kind of represent that category. They're supposed to be kind of towards the areas that you can find them. For instance, some of these fish are only found on the eastern side of the state, some are found central or to the western side. So they're kind of categorized by where they're found. And then on the back of the poster, it breaks it down by every single fish, and it gives you just a little bit more information about them. Where can you find them? What do they eat? What do they look like? That kind of stuff. So we have a mammal, bird, reptile, amphibian, plants. We have a T&E species, threatened and endangered species, insects, and then of course the fish poster as well. All right, we also have some threatened and endangered species pamphlets. We have these printed off that you can request them, actual print version, or we do have them now online as well. And just looking at this, I do need to update this. Instead of 17, we do have all, I think, 30 of them now. So if you go to outdoornebraska.gov, you can find our threatened and endangered species pamphlets. Here's just kind of a screenshot of what you would find online. It tells you the description of the species. This one is about plants, it's blowout penstemon. There's also the range, habitat, population status, conservation help. So again, you can find this all online, you can print them off yourself, or we do have physical copies that we can send you if you are interested as well. All right, we also have some matching track games. These are super popular, people love them. We have a actual guide here that kind of gives you a little bit of information about some animals. It shows you the prints, the tracks, and then it also just gives you a short description and a photo of that animal. And then the idea is that we have some track cards that have the front foot and the back foot and a picture of the animal in these books on there. And the idea is that you would match them together as kind of a matching game. And then this guide would not only be interesting facts, but also your answer key. So that is something that you can request as well. And then very similar to our Trail Tales magazines, we wanted things that were a little bit more specific. So we have what we call our ology magazines, not very scientific, but it's our ology magazines. So we have things like pollinatorology, reptileology, amphibianology, mammalogy, pollinatorology, birdology. So they're very similar to Trail Tales, but every single article is relating to that topic. And one thing about these that's a little different than Trail Tales is that every single article has an activity to go with it. So for instance, this one, how many words can you make with the word reptile? Or this next one, for instance, find the differences within the photos. So something that works with this as well. So this is something that you can request to get. We have, again, all the different ones on there, kind of depending on which one kind of matches your theme. All right, and then just a few other resources, something that you all might really be interested in is we have some education trunks and kits that you can check out for free. Everyone likes free things. So Project Wild, our education division, we have these trunks that are free to check out and they have hands-on materials in them. We understand that if you want to talk about mammals or birds or that kind of stuff, you don't always have the resources, you don't have the space, and you don't really know what to get. So we have things in there. For instance, our mammal trunk here is pictured. It has skulls, it has pelts of those animals from Nebraska. It has a bunch of literature books, and it will also have things like replica tracks, so rubberized tracks of animals in Nebraska. And then it will also come with a binder of activities that deal with mammals at different grade levels. So these are already put together for you. I will give you the resource at the very end, and you can either call or email our staff person and just say, hey, I'd like to check these out. There's 9 of these, varies, but there's about 9 different trunks throughout the state. So hopefully within an hour, hour and a half of you, wherever you are, you can grab one of these trunks and use them for free if they're available. And one thing that Grace will talk about too is her aquatic trunk that really fits in with your theme this year as well. All right, so here's just a list of all the ones that we have. And again, I will give you that list at the end, or you can just go to nebraskaprojectwild.org and you can find more information about these too. And then there's all the locations again. All right, and then one more very large resource that we have, but it's also very nice to have, is we have now 4 trailers throughout the state that any group or organization can check out for free. Again, free. So these trailers, about 6 foot by 10 foot trailers that you would need a large truck or an SUV to haul, but they are pre-ready with 13 activities in there. So you pull out a tub, it says this is the tracks activity. There's everything in there that you need to do this activity. You clean stuff up, you put it away, and you go back on the shelf. So now we have trailers in North Platte, Lincoln, Scottsbluff, and Norfolk. And again, just like our trunks, you just call us or email us and say, hey, I'd really want to check this out for my library program this summer. I need it June 6th through 10th. And then we check and see if it's available. You come get it, you use it, you return it, and that's all it is. So very simple, and everything is already in here that you need to do a larger activity or a festival or something like that. All right, and then one thing that it's very limited, especially kind of in this COVID world that we're living in, and we're a very small staff, but we sometimes do come out and do physical programs. So we will come and talk to you about owls, or we'll come and talk to you about mammals or reptiles or whatever you're looking at having. It is extremely limited, though, I will give you that, but it does happen, and we do have that option. All right, and that is all I have. So I will stop sharing and let Grace talk.
Perfect. Let me share my screen. Let's see. Hold on. Take two. Okay, can you see my slides? Okay, perfect. All right, thanks, Monica. So I'm going to focus a little more on the aquatic specific education resources, and she touched on a few of them, and I'll kind of repeat a couple, but mostly these will all be ones we haven't talked about yet, so there is more. So just again, the aquatic wild workshops are something that, whether you're an actual formal teacher or if you work at the library, I think these activities work for everyone. We've used them a lot even in after school programming, so they can be flexible for what you need, which is awesome. So like she was kind of showing you, they're pretty thick. They have like 55 activities in them, with lots of other ways to expand, I think, if you just think creatively. So there's a list there of topics that we kind of cover, but like she mentioned, this is a national curriculum, so not a lot of it is very specific to Nebraska, but I will say when I do this workshop, we always try to tie in Nebraska specific things to it, just because, that really helps solidify learning when it's something that you can relate to and that you've seen before where you live. So we do like to try to tie it to local things, but this is still a great thing, especially because you guys, I think it's called Oceans of Possibilities or something. So there's definitely some ocean related activities in this curriculum as well. So yeah, this will be great. I know we're doing a couple workshops for libraries. And so if you're a part of that, then you'll get to see what's in this a little more detailed from the activities that we'll do with you, so you can know what it's like to do an activity. So another set of curriculum that is out there is called Project Wet. And again, it's a pretty big set of activities. There's a lot of things in there. It's set up really nice, just like Aquatic Wild and Project Wild, that it tells you what grade levels it's good for. It tells you a lot of the details you need to know to be successful when you implement an activity. And actually Project Wet is not run by us, but we can do those workshops as well. But the kind of where it's housed in Nebraska is under the Nebraska Forest Service. So they do a lot of workshops as well. So their contact and just their website's on here. But as you can see, this curriculum also was very successful. So they've branched off in a bunch of directions. They also have Getting Little Feet Wet, and they have some of these also just like little workbooks. So those are available pretty readily, I think, for you to be able to ask or request. We even have a few of these in our office that I don't need. They're just sitting on my shelf. So if you watch this and you're like, oh, I would love to have some of those, like this is all about watershed protection. This one's all about stormwater. Please feel free to email me, because I would love to send them to you so that they actually are being used by someone. But yeah, so there's lots of different branches. Even Discover a Watershed, that's designed for even older students. So there's a lot of great variety of activities depending on what age groups you're going to engage with at your library. And then Trout in the Classroom is a really great program that is originally designed. It's a national program designed for school settings. However, I've had quite a few, the library in the school will be the ones to host the tank, or I've had even just like the public library in North Platte, they had a tank for a year. So generally, if you join the program, we hope that you just continue year after year. But this is basically a program that's hoping to connect students to watersheds in their area and help them understand why water quality is important and how many things rely on it, wildlife, fish, all kinds of things. So we do a training with anyone who decides to join the program. We then in January, after you've been prepared and you have all the equipment you need set up, we send you to around 200 trout eggs, and they grow throughout the spring semester. And then usually there's a big release at the end of the year where you get to release your fish. And we usually do this with schools so they get a field trip. So there could be a cool community event that goes along with this in a library setting. So lots of just cool possibilities with this. And this year we have 91 schools across the state participating. It's totally statewide, which is awesome. So really nice to have that program. And we have different activities you can do through it. We have a whole curriculum depending on age level that we've made. There's trout dissection, water quality testing, lots of hands-on things that students can do with the fish tank, with the fish, and just lots of great learning opportunities that I think can be really easily adapted to a library setting. So just something to keep in mind if you're interested in this. Some of the equipment can be kind of expensive, but we do often have scholarships available. So just be keeping that in mind if you're interested. The program, a new year of the program would be starting in about June to August. You would apply or just sign up to join, and then applications during that time as well. And then you would be starting the program next fall. So this year probably it's definitely too late. So just keep that in your mind if you would like to join next year. And then touching on those aquatic or the trunks, the education trunks, we have one specific to aquatic ecology. And basically what's in it is there are different tools and books and things to help you basically do a water quality assessment by looking for macroinvertebrates, which are insects that are, small enough, but you can see them with your naked eye. You don't need like a microscope or anything to see them. And by looking at the communities of insects in the water, you can actually assess, the health of your water system. So this might be a tougher one for you guys to do, but I do think it's possible if you want to do more of a community event that's off-site, or even if you have a wetland right near your library. I think this would be a really cool thing to do by checking out this trunk. And yeah, there's all kinds of tools to catch those little insects in the water, and identification tools. Like we have a cool little, ID charts you can flip through. There's single sheet IDs that are simpler. So that's a good thing for observation and all kinds of different ways that it's helpful. We even have some books. We have a range of books. Some of them are in Spanish. Most of them are in English, but we tried to include some in Spanish as well. Like this is about the life cycle of a mosquito. So things that I think would be really helpful if you are going out to actually assess a body of water and see it in person and get people out there. So that trunk is really awesome. You can find it Omaha, Lincoln, Kearney, Norfolk, Valentine, and Scottsbluff. And it's on the same web page that Monica showed you for the other trunks. It's been recently added to there. So hopefully in the spring, this would be something that maybe you guys could check out and try it out and see how your students do with it. Another thing is this Wetland Outreach and Education resources. This is part of a big grant and a big project that I've been working on. And it's a partnership between Platte Basin Time Lapse, Game and Parks, the Nebraska Cooperative Fish and Wildlife Research Unit, which is through UNL, and then Ducks Unlimited. So basically about 15 years ago, they put together a set of resources to help people learn about Nebraska's really unique wetlands, because we actually have a lot of different kinds of them. And from that project came like a guide to Nebraska's wetlands that, the everyday person could access and learn more about our different types of wetlands. And then there was also, like Monica mentioned, these trail tales. There was a specific issue of that was all about wetlands. So what we're doing in this project is kind of revamping those resources, because we know there's a lot more technology involved these days with how people get their information. And so we're doing a ology magazine about wetlands. So it'll be called Wetlandology, and it'll be designed for those, 4th to 5th grade level. And then we're also updating the guide. We'll have a lot more resources online for people to look at. And our whole goal is to increase the awareness of the value of wetlands in Nebraska and why we should conserve them, because they are really important. So we're still in the process of creating some of these, but they should be finished up in September of 2022. So coming up, they will be done. And basically, it's a really cool way of creative storytelling. There's a lot of different technology we're using. So drones, time-lapse cameras, camera traps, underwater photography. So Platte Basin Time-Lapse has done an amazing job with that, and they just continue to get more cool content for this program. So, and then, like I said, there will be some really cool resources that come out of this that will be released in September, and hopefully even more, because we just see there's a lot of possibilities and cool things for people to learn about wetlands from this type of approach. So just something to keep in mind. I know it's not ready quite yet, but there's some cool trailers out there. And if you go to nebraskawetlands.com, you'll see those. One other thing I'm a little less involved in, but it's called FINS, Fishing in Nebraska Schools. And the contact for this program is down below, Larry Pape. And this is a great way to you can become a youth fishing instructor, so you can help with Larry's events, because he holds those family fishing nights throughout the year. Or you can rent one of his trailers that is full of the fishing equipment. And so this could be a great thing. There's a lot of people out there that are part of his volunteer network that love to help with these sorts of events. So just know that if you're interested in offering something like this, definitely contact Larry. He has a set of resources he can send you, or you can even organize a little event in your area. And then a few other fishing related resources. Like I mentioned, those family fishing nights are awesome. They bring all the equipment you need. It doesn't cost you any money, and you can just show up across the state. They'll have a whole scheduled list out for the summer, really spring into fall. And those will have great events that you're welcome to show up to. And it's just a great way to get out there and try out fishing, especially for those younger ones who've never tried it before. They have the bait, they have it all. So there's also the Nebraska State Fish Art Contest. And this is actually a national thing, but they do it by state. So we do this as well. And I believe those artworks will be due in March. So something to look at on our website. We also have this Whiskers coloring book. So it's kind of a nice little hand-drawn set of resource that it's like you can educate yourself about our fish species, and you can also color them in. So kind of a cool thing. That it's Nebraska specific, and you can kind of learn a little bit more about those fish while you do it. And then we also have this Common Fishes of Nebraska guide. And that's, again, really nice and small, but also has good images in it to help you identify fish if you do go fishing. So these are really nice little things that kind of all age levels can participate in. And then we also wanted to mention we have a Game and Parks YouTube channel that focuses specifically on education. So Monica has done a really great series on conservation careers. So if you have kids that want to learn more about what kind of careers can you have in the conservation field, there's all different kinds of jobs featured in this series, and it's really interesting, and there's great stuff in there. So you can check that out. And there are also specific programming that are recorded from past presentations that are on here that you can watch and learn more about different, nature related topics. So definitely check that out. There's videos on lots of different things. And we have also like some great social media things going on. So on Instagram, we're at Nebraska Wildlife Education, and I think the same thing for Facebook. So be sure to check us out on those, because there's lots of events that we put out through those and just information. But otherwise, we hope that this has been really helpful for you to learn more about what resources we have. And both of our emails are on here. So please feel free to reach out to us if you guys have any questions, because we're here to help, and we want more people to learn about Nebraska's natural resources. So Monica, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
No, I think that's it. If anyone has any questions, please reach out to us. Even if you don't know what you're asking, please reach out to us and just brainstorm with us too. So
Perfect. Thanks, everyone.